In the vast, ancient pages of the Hebrew Bible, one encounters a God who seems almost indifferent. A deity who, despite creating the world and guiding a chosen people, rarely shows signs of joy or pleasure. This God, depicted in the Tanakh, is a figure of immense power and authority. Yet his character is marked by a curious absence of emotional warmth. The text is peppered with his anger and displeasure, but instances of his joy or compassion are rare and fleeting. This peculiar portrayal raises a profound question. Is this God inhuman, or is he inhumane? And if so, why did the ancient Israelites choose to depict their Creator in such a manner? The opening chapters of Genesis set the tone for this enigmatic God. After each day of creation, the text repeats the phrase, "And God saw that it was good." Yet, the text never says, "And God rejoiced, for it was good." This absence of joy is striking. It suggests a God who is more a force of nature than a being capable of emotional response. The Tanakh's consistent portrayal of God as an imperious and often wrathful figure, one who rarely, if ever, expresses satisfaction with his creation, is a departure from the gods of other ancient religions. In the pantheons of Greece and Rome, the gods were all too human, with their own desires, jealousies, and whims. But the God of the Tanakh is different. He is personal, yet he remains aloof, distant, and often cold. This character of God is not merely a quirk of ancient literature. It is a deliberate choice that reflects a profound theological and literary innovation. The ancient Israelites were not the first to conceive of a personal God, but they were the first to envision a personal God who was also asexual. This was a radical departure from the polytheistic religions of their neighbors, where gods and goddesses were often depicted in sexualized contexts. The Israelites' God, on the other hand, is a being of pure power and authority, unencumbered by the passions and desires that define human existence. The writers of the Tanakh were acutely aware of the risks of anthropomorphizing God. While they used anthropomorphic language to describe God, speaking of his arm, hand, finger, and face, they were careful to ensure that these metaphors did not detract from God's divinity. The arm of God that was extended against Egypt was not a human arm. It was a symbol of divine power. However, the writers were far more cautious when it came to attributing emotional or bodily feelings to God. They recognized that emotions, especially the tender ones, could undermine the perception of God's perfection and invulnerability. Sexual desire, in particular, was seen as a passion that could diminish God's power. Desire is a state of wanting, of lacking, and a being who is perfect and complete cannot lack anything. Similarly, other tender emotions like joy, grief, and compassion were viewed with suspicion. Joy, for instance, is often a surprise, an involuntary response that can disrupt one's sense of control. Grief is the pain of unfulfilled desire, and compassion involves a deep, often involuntary, connection to the suffering of others. These emotions, with their inherent vulnerability and unpredictability, were seen as incompatible with the image of an all-powerful, all-knowing God. In contrast, the untender emotions that the writers felt comfortable attributing to God, anger, displeasure, and regret, did not compromise his power. In fact, they often reinforced it. God's anger, while intense, was always perfectly controlled. It was a tool of his sovereignty, a means of maintaining order and justice. The wrath of God, far from making him vulnerable, restored his separateness and invulnerability. This is evident in the story of the flood, where God's regret and sadness at the wickedness of humanity do not stem from a personal attachment, but from the sundering of a relationship. The flood, far from weakening God, demonstrates his ultimate power and control. However, the character of God in the Tanakh is not static. It evolves, and the most significant transformation occurs in the book of 2nd Isaiah. Here, God is portrayed in a profoundly different light. He is not just a distant, wrathful deity, but a God of deep, tender love. The metaphor of God as a husband who takes back his wife, even after she has strayed, is a powerful image that captures this new emotional depth. The language used is lyrical and passionate, a stark contrast to the earlier, more austere portrayals of God. The words everlasting love, hesed, and great compassion suggest a God who is not just a ruler but a lover, one who is capable of profound emotional connection. This transformation is not a contradiction but a development. It reflects a deeper understanding of the relationship between God and humanity. The earlier, more distant portrayal of God was necessary to establish his authority and power. It was a way of emphasizing his otherness and the vast gulf that separates the divine from the human. However, the later, more tender portrayal of God is a recognition that this gulf, while real, is not insurmountable. God, in his love for humanity, is willing to bridge this gap, to enter into a relationship that is not just one of authority, but of genuine care and compassion. The evolution of God's character in the Tanakh is a testament to the complexity and depth of the relationship between the divine and the human. It is a journey from a God of power and authority to a God of love and compassion. This journey is not linear but cyclical, with moments of distance and moments of closeness. It is a reflection of the human experience of faith, with its struggles, failures, and moments of grace. The God of the Tanakh is not just a deity to be feared or obeyed, but a God who desires a deep, personal relationship with his people. In the end, the God of the Tanakh is both inhuman and inhumane, but in a way that is profoundly human. He is inhuman in his power and perfection, a being beyond the limitations of human existence. Yet, he is also inhumane in a way that reflects the best and worst of human nature. His wrath and judgment are a mirror of the human tendency toward anger and retribution, while his love and compassion are a reflection of the human capacity for forgiveness and grace. The God of the Tanakh is a God who is both other and one, a divine being who is both transcendent and deeply involved in the human story. In conclusion, the God of the Tanakh is a complex, multifaceted character whose portrayal reflects the deep theological and literary insights of the ancient Israelites. His inhumanity is not a flaw, but a necessary aspect of his divinity, while his inhumanity is a reflection of the human condition. The journey from a God of power to a God of love is a journey that continues to resonate with readers today, a testament to the enduring power of the Tanakh's narrative.